tell me about your relationship with, I was going to say Sir Terry Pratchett. That sounds really formal, because I bet you didn't ever call him Sir Terry Pratchett.
I never did.
What did you call him? Was it just Terry?
I called him Terry.
Yeah.
It was my mate Terry.
How did you meet?
I was a very young journalist. I would have been 24. And Terry was working as publicist for the Central Electricity Board. And he'd written a book called The Colour of Magic.
I remember it well.
And it was just about to come out in paperback. And I was the first person to interview him. But we met, we had lunch, I interviewed him. But over the course of the lunch, it became very obvious that we had very similar sorts of brains. We became friendly. I remember Terry started sending me his books on floppy disk form, these 5-inch floppy disks that you had to put cardboard into the envelope so people didn't break them, while he was writing them. And, you know, my phone would ring a lot and a voice would say, "Hello, it's me. Listen, I've got a problem." And he'd tell me whatever plot place he was stuck on. And normally it would be a sort of a, is this funnier or is this funnier? And I would go, well, you know, you could do both. And he'd go, how? And I'd go, well, you could do this and that. And so we'd been sort of semi-collaborating in a weird kind of way for a long time, when Terry phoned me up and said, "Here, that thing you're writing, are you doing anything with it?" Because I'd sent him the first 5,000 words of Good Omens. And I said, "No, I'm doing Sandman right now and it's taking up all my time." And he said, "Well, either sell me the idea or we could write it together." And I knew that this is an awful lot like Michelangelo ringing you up and saying, "Yeah, do you want to do a ceiling?" So I said, well, we'll write it together, obviously. And we did. And
did you do it together? Were you in person or was it remotely?
We were over the phone.
Yeah.
I'd get up. Back then I was basically nocturnal, so I'd get up about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, play my answering machine, because that was what we had back in those days, and a voice would go, get up, you lazy bugger, it's me. I've just written a good bit, ring me." And I would phone him and he would read me what he'd written that morning, and then I would read him what I had written much, much earlier that morning, and we'd make each other laugh. And then the game was just to get to the next good bit before the other one could. And we had a very small audience with that book. His audience was me, mine was him. And we got together right at the very end. Once we'd written all of our bits, I went down to Terry's house and stayed there, and we just assembled it into a novel and made sure that everything was in the right order. And we almost got it right. That very, very first edition, published by Gollancz very early in 1990, does, if you read the text incredibly carefully, have a week with 2 Wednesdays in it. But that vanished in later drafts.